All right. Welcome, everyone, to the first Board of Directors meeting for Ed Alliance for the 22-23 school year. Very excited to be here and see all these faces in person. I'd like to call to order. It is 4:02 p.m. Roll call next, but before we do roll call, I would like to welcome some of our wonderful guests we have. First and foremost, Washoe County School District Superintendent, Dr. Susan Enfield. Welcome. Tom Clark. He's like, hey. I don't know if you want to do a dance. Okay, perfect, even better. The Redfield Community Outreach Program team. And Alex Woodley, past Ed Alliance President and Director of Parking and Code Enforcement for the City of Reno. We look forward to hearing from all of you shortly. And we have three directors joining us virtually. Joe, Victoria, Crystal, can you hear us? Looks like Joe's there, probably still waiting on Victoria and Crystal.
I hear you.
Okay, perfect. And a very special birthday today from Chris Morgan, who will be joining us hopefully soon. We'll get him going.
He's in Japan. Right?
He is in Japan. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's
tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's tomorrow.
Oh, is it?
All right, we do have a lot to cover tonight. Just a reminder that if you do make any sort of discussion, any sort of votes, make sure to use your mic, or if you are virtual, to make sure you come off the mic, because sometimes we forget, and to say your first and last name so that Secretary Gallagher can make sure that it's noted for minutes. So I will pass it over to you for roll call.
All right, everyone, good afternoon. I will go ahead and begin roll call for our Board of Directors meeting for the Education Alliance. First, John Adunco.
Here.
All right, Michelle Anderson.
Here.
All right, Christine Brown-Gallagher present. Joe Klein.
Here.
All right, Melissa Dedmond.
Here.
All right, Kaylin Evans.
Here.
Lauren Garfinkel.
Here.
Crystal Herrera Woodley. All right, Kendall Inskip.
Here. I made a mistake. Chris is not in Japan.
Okay. Not in Japan, noted for the record. Victoria Mason. It appears to be that she is here.
I'm here. I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm here.
All right, thank you, Victoria. Landon Miller.
Here.
All right, Chris Morgan. Manny Ortiz.
Here.
All right, Charles Pasillas.
Here.
Ralph Rodriguez.
Here.
All right, Dave Shintani.
Here.
All right, and Jill Tolles.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Nice.
Perfect, thank you. Let's go to item 2.01, approval of the minutes from the June 6th meeting. Those were distributed prior. Did everyone have a chance to take a look? Perfect. Do I have a motion to approve minutes?
So moved. Melissa Dedmond.
Perfect. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Landon Miller.
Thank you, Landon. And any discussion, any edits from the board? Nope. Okay. Do we have any public comments?
None at this time.
Any? Nope. All right. Let's go ahead and put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. Motion passes. Approval passes, right? Motion passes. Okay. Right. Moving on to item 2.02. I am so excited to introduce Dr. Enfield. Welcome to our Board of Directors meeting and to Reno. We'd love to hear more about you and how everything's been so far and get to know you a little better.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lauren. And thank you, everybody, for the time that you give to doing this to support our students, our staff, and our families. I really look forward to working alongside you in the months and years ahead. So this Wednesday, I think, marks 8 weeks on the job, so I have it all figured out. So I will say this. I'm delighted to be here. It's been a wonderful introduction to the community. People have been, as I've said, incredibly warm and welcoming and helpful. I am learning a tremendous amount, and really what has been the most exciting is having school start. And as you know, last week was the start of school for many of our students, and it was a strong start. And today it was the first day for our incline schools, and we were up there. And I said there was a little cognitive dissonance for me because, you know, having gone to the Tahoe area growing up, since I'm from the Bay Area, when I smell the trees, it smells like vacation. And yet I was not on vacation. I was working. But boy, those students have a pretty nice view when they're out at recess. It was really beautiful and a really strong start up there. So I think that what I would say is, I think, as you know, we have just shared my entry plan to give the community a sense of what they can expect from me in the months ahead as I get to know the community. And, you know, I've established three priorities for this first phase. And that first one is just getting back to basics and ensuring we're providing an excellent education for every child, because we're a school system and that's ultimately what we're here to do. The second priority is to build relationships with the community and with families, because you don't build or earn trust automatically. You build it and earn it through relationships. And so I want to be as visible and present in the community as possible, to be building those relationships so that everyone in our community sees the Washoe County School District as a trusted organization and partner in the education of our children. And then the third priority is making sure that we are a strong, supportive, resilient organization, and that the staff across Washoe County School District feels seen and supported to do their very best work. I think, as we know, the last few years have been challenging, and there's an extraordinary team of education professionals across this district that shows up every day and brings their best. And I have a responsibility as the superintendent to make sure the working conditions are in place for them to do that job. And so those are the three initial priorities. I'm thrilled to be here. It's going to be a great year. Is there anything else in particular that you would like me to address?
I have to ask, what's your favorite part about Reno so far?
And I know this is going to sound a little bit like I'm trying too hard, but the best part so far has been the people. 100% people are so friendly here. And I actually thought maybe it was like me, not me, like I'm so great people are friendly, but maybe me because I'm new and the superintendent people were being extra nice to me. But, you know, our deputy superintendent, Dr. Sankio, began this week, and she moved up here from Clark County area. And she said to me, the people here in Reno are so friendly. I said, I know. That's what I thought too. But now I'm glad that someone has corroborated that. So now it's fact, because two people have said it so it must be fact. So but in all seriousness, the people, everyone that I've met has been so incredibly helpful. And, you know, and the other thing that I will say, there is tremendous support for the school district in the community. Yes, we have our critics, and that's appropriate. You know, we know we have work to do. No one in the district will deny that we have work to do. And people really believe and want to believe in the school district and the work they do. And I think they want to be a part of something great. And as I've said, the conditions are in place for greatness here. Right? We have spots of greatness all over the district, but how do we create greatness across the board? And as I've said to people, I have no doubt in my mind that Washoe County School District is a district on the rise. I think there's tremendous opportunity here. And I think with the staff that we have and the support of the community, people like yourselves, how can we not soar? You know, challenges, sure. You know, we're like I said, we have work to do, but it's work that can be done. So.
Absolutely, and I can speak on behalf of Ed Alliance that we are definitely here to support you
Thank
in
you.
your mission vision for that. Does anyone have any questions or comment or anything for Dr. Enfield?
Yes.
Hey, as you're well aware, a lot of comments around the country just about staffing challenges.
Yeah.
So just curious, how is that here? we doing? And long-term, is there anything we should be thinking about? That's one. And then two, how can we help you?
Well, thank you for that. So that's a multi-part question, so I'm going to give you a multi-part answer, so everyone get comfy. So first of all, I think everyone is painfully aware of the staffing shortages that we've had across different areas of the district, but most pointedly so in teaching and transportation. And so we know that we've had a shortage of bus drivers. We know that we've had a challenge staffing our classrooms. And so fortunately, the school board did increase bus driver salaries a couple of months ago, and that seems to have really helped in our ability to recruit and attract to recruit drivers, recruit and attract the same thing, but to recruit drivers and get them in the queue for the training so that they can be ready to go. Our goal is that by the fall break, so the end of September, that we will be able to transition away from the area rotation system to the hub, to the fully staffed hub model. Similarly, we worked to make sure that we had coverage in our classrooms on the first day of school, but we still have unfilled positions. A few weeks ago, it was a couple hundred. I think we're down now to about 50 or so. So we're making progress. But the reality is that this level of scrambling and the lack of predictability and consistency that it causes for staff and students and families alike is unacceptable. We can't go on like that. So I've pledged that we will be in a very different place a year from now. And what I've already talked with staff about is we need to start planning for next fall, this fall. And so once we get school up and running, because we need to make sure we get school up and running, the team here and I are going to start looking at what are some of the long-range solutions that we can put in place so that we are in a better position next year. And I believe there are things that we can do. There just weren't things we could do in the few weeks that I had before I arrived. And unfortunately, Kaylin Evans and I, who, have really been working together to address these issues and come up with solutions, we made the decision, I own the decision, to return 60 of our central office TOSAs, teachers on special assignment, to the classroom with just a week's notice. That's not it was the right decision, but it was not a great decision, and it wasn't fair to those TOSAs. And I am incredibly sorry for that. However, our children need teachers in the classroom. And I always have to prioritize student learning over adult learning. And it doesn't mean the work that they were doing for our system wasn't incredibly important. Our kids need our teachers. And so I refuse to be in that position again. Because I don't want to put staff in that position again. As a former teacher myself, I can tell you what my response would have been if someone told me I had 1 week to prepare for my classroom of kids. Teachers care deeply about the job they do in their children, and 1 week is not enough to prepare for a class. And so that's not something that we can have in the future. So that's kind of the doom and gloom thing. I think there's tremendous reason to be hopeful. And I do think we have some strategies in place and partnering with the community. And I have a meeting coming up with some folks from Tesla who might have some creative opportunities. No, we're not going to give kids Teslas. That's not the plan. But maybe some that they can help us with some of our transportation issues. And there's some creative ideas there. So I am very open to anybody who has creative opportunities or creative solutions that they want to discuss with me, because the planning starts now. And in the interim, what I will say is, in addition to the priorities that I laid out in my strategic plan, when I did my kickoff with our leadership team a couple of weeks ago, I said there's sort of 4 themes that I'm going to be focusing on, and I call them the 4 C's. So the first one is coherence. We want to make sure that we are a coherent system where everybody is clear on who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and can speak about that clearly, and that there's consistency and predictability across the system. I think that's important for staff and students and families. Number 2 is care. I think we really have to make sure that we're doing the best we can to care for our educators, our children, ourselves, and one another coming out of the pandemic. The third one is communication. Want to make sure that we are being proactive. Michelle's on notice, she knows, that we need to be as proactive as possible and strategic in communicating, not just to the community, but with the community and conversation so that it's not just one way. And then the fourth is celebration. And this is where you all can come in. And frankly, everybody, my goal is to help create a community-wide campaign to celebrate the staff in Washoe County School District. They need and they deserve to be celebrated. And yes, at the long range, we need to look at how the state funds education, and it's a problem, and we have to address that. And I have begun to address that, and will continue to address that. But that's a long range solution that isn't entirely within our control. But as a community, we can absolutely control the way in which we talk about our educators and our children, the way we celebrate the good work that's happening in schools. And to those who are critical of the district on areas where we need to improve, what I've been saying is, two things can and must be true at once. We can acknowledge that we have areas to improve, and we can celebrate the heck out of the great things that are happening across our school system. And I'll tell you, as of today, I've been in over a dozen schools. And for anyone to say that, I know what the statistics are, that we're last or we're this or we're that, walk into those schools with me or with someone and see the joyful learning that is happening, the dedication of the adults in that school with those children, and the smiles and the happiness that they are showing and being in their school building. That's what I want people to start seeing and celebrating. So any ideas that, I know that you're going to talk about the upcoming event, but any ideas that you have on how we can create that culture of celebration, and as a community, wrap our arms around not just our children in the district, but our staff as well. They need us right now. They've been hurting. And I also think that we all have a part to play in how I think how we talk to, with, and about our children matters. I think it matters mightily because our children pay attention. That's true for adults as well. So I would really encourage us to be mindful in how we talk about our children and our school system. They're not failures. And I think that when people are talking about the challenges of the district and maybe saying that we're failing, they're not thinking about the impact that has on those in the district who are working so hard every day. So I challenge all of us to flip the script, right? We can do that. We can all do that. And I will be your chief cheerleader in leading that cause. But that's one way where I think in the immediate, absent more funding and people, we can actually start moving the needle and making some improvements together. Long answer, but it was a multi-part question. So to be fair, Chris.
Thank you, and we absolutely are delighted to be the good news bearers. One of our past presidents calls us that, and we're good communicators. We share the good stories. I'm so excited to be with Michelle now because we're going to team up and make it happen. We love to celebrate partnerships with the community and those schools and those teachers and the people that are working their tails off, doing their thing. And we host Principal for a half day in the February where we must have 100%, and we love to drill down into schools as well, so that if there's department chairs or Signature Academy leaders that want to pair up with someone in their field of expertise, we love to do that. And so we're here to support you, like Lauren said, and we love creative ideas, and there are so many creative people in this room that do celebrate as ambassadors to the district. So we are here for you.
And please let me know how I can help and support you, right? We're all on the same team. Team Washoe County School District. So I'm happy to do whatever I can to help as well. And Kendall knows that. So you have a ready volunteer here for whatever you need.
Be careful what you ask.
Well, good luck getting on my calendar right now.
No.
Tammy is swimming in a sea of requests like
They'll
this.
all be
but-
easy and lots of time.
I know. I appreciate that. And I apologize that I can't stay for the whole meeting, but I've got some trustee meetings. And as a new superintendent, I like to keep my trustee meetings and be timely. So any other questions that I can answer for you? Okay. Thank you. Did I get anything?
Thank you again so much for being here.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
so much.
Just a quick note for the record, Chris Morgan arrived at 4:07 p.m.
Sorry.
And asked a very good.
And asked a very good question, is also celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday!
You can finally drink legally. It's-
You could be out drinking margaritas and you're here with us. I'm so happy.
The little things that are the big things, right? All right, so moving on to item 2.03, consideration and approval of the appointment of Kaylin Evans to the Education Alliance Board of Directors beginning July 1st, 2022. And as a refresher, he will be replacing Phil Kaiser, who has retired. So can I get a motion? Make a motion? Okay. Jill, thank you.
I'll move. Jill Tolles.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Hey, second.
Wonderful. All right, so for discussion, Kaylin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hi everybody. My name's Kalen Evans. I'm the new president of the WEA. Recently worked in the school district for the last 11 years, teaching in the classroom. Started my own, along with some other educators in the district, a nonprofit previously called Empower Nevada Teachers, which was focused on educator and education advocacy across the state. But our primary active members were up north, and we did a lot of work parallel with the association, both at the local and state level, really focusing primarily on educational funding to address the lack of our ability to attract and retain educators, class sizes, and mental health services for students in the classroom. Those are kind of our three big goals. And we were able to do a lot of work during the legislative session and work, but obviously, as Dr. Enfield alluded to, there's a ton of work to do on the funding aspect of education here in Nevada. And just really fortunate to have found myself in this new position and role. And we are really, we have almost an entirely new board. We're changing a lot about our association, our direction, our culture, our tactics, our messaging. How we go about connecting with our bargaining unit, and we are going to be just very assertive and unapologetically in support of the professionals that you have working in your school district. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to serve on this board with all of you, have known the work that Ed Alliance has done, being a teacher in the classroom for years, and now getting to sit on the other end of this is a cool opportunity. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve with you.
Wonderful, thank you. All
We are
right.
so excited to have you, Kaylin, and
Yes.
we love the voice of the teachers. That's one of the things that has been great about having WEA represented on our board, is to have the voice of teachers right in the trenches. It's always important for us to be, as Christine termed it, timely and targeted with our support, and that's very helpful to us, so thank you.
I think we need to celebrate teachers a little bit more this year too, so.
Yes.
Appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, I talk with Dr. Enfield all the time, so I don't want to take up too much of her time with questioning. But I think you guys to understand how much it means to have somebody in a leadership position really speak so openly and publicly about the need to support educators and the need to fund our school system. A lot of times as educators, we understand the importance of recognizing the great things that happen in our school district. At the same time, there is a reality that the educators in your community are facing every single day, and it's not a reality that anybody should be proud of in a lot of ways. And so to have somebody in that position speak very candidly about it, the word empowering can't be understated. It really helps to have somebody speaking. And so, as a board, I know our focus is on students. Of course, the best way that we can support the kids in our community is to support the adults that are in the building who are dedicating their lives to helping these kids. And I think that that's been something that as a community and as a school district, we haven't done the best job of. So it's good to hear that we can start to address some of those.
Wonderful, thank you. And I echo Kendall when I say we're very excited to have you. So with that being said, do we have all in favor for appointing Kaylin Evans to the Ed Alliance Board of Directors beginning July 1st, 2022?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Damn it. All right, I'm sorry.
It was Victoria. It was a delay. Victoria with the microphone. We could see you smiling and laughing, Victoria, we swear. All right.
I'm sorry about that. I don't want you guys to hear me coughing and sniffling, so I keep muting
Oh my
myself.
goodness.
Bless your heart.
All right.
Sorry.
I'll so funny, of course. Okay. All right. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. And welcome again. Okay. All right. Moving on to item 2.05. presentation discussion of the Redfield Community Outreach Program. Oh, no, I crossed out 4. My apologies. I didn't mean to do that.
Get out of here, Tom.
Tom Clark, I apologize. I crossed it out. I apologize. Okay, let's go back to that for the record. Yes, presentation discussion of Washoe County School District Board of Trustees, races by Tom Clark. Christine, thank you so much for making this connection.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And you know, we know Tom Clark very well in our context at the Reno Sparks Chamber. He and his fantastic partners in crime at Tom Clark Solutions represent the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce in our government affairs and lobbying. And I do actually have an official bio for Tom, so I will go ahead and regale you all with tales of his many accomplishments. For more than 25 years, Tom Clark has provided non-legal government and public affairs services on behalf of his clients before federal, state, and local governments and regulatory agencies. He is a veteran campaign manager, strategic advisor, and coordinator, having worked on numerous statewide and local government campaigns and initiatives. Tom represents a variety of interests, including but not limited to airlines, healthcare, travel and tourism, banking, licensing boards, renewable energy, mining, mortgage professionals, insurance, gaming, take a breath, emergency medical services, telecommunications, nonprofit associations, the outdoor industry, and land conservation, preservation, and development. What a list. Thank you so much, Tom, for sharing your expertise with us today on the Washoe County School Board trustee races that are upcoming.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, members of the Alliance. My name is Tom Clark, and apparently I'm a pretty good writer, too. But I have to start off by saying this room has a lot of memories for me. My first campaign that I ran was in 1998, and it was the Yes Yes for Kids campaign. And sitting a couple rows behind Alex was this very attractive young lady, and she had a notebook in her hand. And Landon, you know why someone would have a notebook in their hand. She was the reporter for the Reno Gazette-Journal. And because of the company that I worked for at the time, it wasn't really appropriate to go asking the reporter out on a date. So I waited, and I was patient. And when I left that company in 2000, I invited this young lady to a celebration of my new company. And in 2 days, we will have been married 20 years. So it's always, and I've had a lot of memories in this room working on issues that deal with the school district and things, but that's one that will definitely stick in my memory for a very long time. I was asked today to just kind of give you a rundown of the races that are up for the trustee for the school district this time around. There are 4. In the primary, now there's 3. The one unique thing about the school district in a nonpartisan race, if you get more than 50% of the vote in the primary, then you don't have a general election. And that used to be the way for all nonpartisan races, but when the city of Reno changed their ward mapping and made some decisions there, if you get more than 50%, it doesn't matter. The top 2 vote getters go on. So what I've done is just outlined for you the 4, or I outlined all 4, but the 3 that we'll talk about today: Trustee Rodriguez, Manetto, and Mayberry. And it's interesting. I've known Trustee Mayberry for a really long time. He's been in this community quite some time, too. I am going to try to make this as vanilla and nonpartisan as possible. So that's why I kind of have a cheat sheet. So we'll just talk about the data and talk about the numbers involved. And, of course, I'll answer any questions that you may have to the best of my ability without moving one direction or the other for any of these races. I will say that the 4 races that you had in the primary are all incumbents. And with the national and state and local attitudes towards school boards right now, for them to have the showing that they had in the primary was, I think, a good sign that the district is going in a good direction. Look at all the turmoil and everything that those board of trustee members had to deal with in the last 2 years. We all saw it. We all bore witness to it. And the challenges that they have are a lot of the other side that were very upset with decisions that were made. And that's what our democracy is all about. If you have a concern, if you don't like the way a direction a board is going, then you run for election. And you can see that Mr. Rodriguez He got 42.8% of the vote. So he was almost at that 50%. And he'll be running against Melanie Sutton. Coming out of that, Mr. Baker did not make it through the primary. Ms. Minetto, and I got the district wrong on Mr. Rodriguez's seat. He's District C, not District A. And then further down, you can see the maps and things. I included those just in case you had a question as to what area of the community they're represented. So Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Sutton will go on to the general election from District C. And in District B, Ms. Minetto, 35. This, and if you look at the map of District B, those, I mean, it's 30, 30, 30. You know, she was the closest race coming out of the primary. And, you know, when you look at it from a demographic perspective, from a political guy like myself, it's really not surprising. A lot of the anger was coming out of those neighborhoods. And I'll leave it at that. And then Trustee Smith, she did very well. She got 66% of the vote. And so even though you'll still see Heedy signs around, that race is over. She does not have a general election race. And then Mr. Mayberry, funny story here too, the first trustee race that I ever got involved with was Ann Loring, and she was at-large District F. So I know that worked really, really well. She ran twice, and myself and a gentleman, Greg Ferraro, both were consultants for her on her races. Adam did pretty good for the number of people that are in that particular ward. Because it's at large, you know, it's almost 3 times as many voters. But of the 37,400 that showed up, he almost hit the 50% mark too with 48.1, 48.2% if I'm rounding up and remember what I learned in elementary school. So I will leave it there as far as the informational side of the presentation and open it up to any questions you may have regarding those races, or you've got me if you have questions about others and the president will allow. I'm more than happy to try and answer as many questions as I possibly can.
Can you tell us a little bit about this race? And actually, yeah, thank you. I get to follow you, Mike. I just washed my hands. Yeah, so this race and maybe the previous one, so it looks like Graham Reed will be running.
He will.
And can you tell us a little bit about his policy positions?
I'll leave his policy positions to the information that you can get on his website and things. He is one of the folks that was very adamant and very vocal about the direction that the district was going. I've known Graham for quite some time. He's a local businessman, and I'm just trying to toe that line of being as vanilla as I possibly can be. But I would encourage the public and yourselves to look at the information that he has on his website to get a better idea of the direction that he would like to see the district go.
And I assume in the previous race, what is it, B, that similarly, Minetta, she is running as someone of similar
Correct.
positions.
Yes. I won't say that it's a slate of candidates that are running, but they are very similar in the issues that upset them to a place where they would want to run for office. A lot of anti-vax, anti-mask, just uproar about the decisions, the very difficult decisions that the trustees were making with their children in school. And some of them actually pulled their kids out of school and either went to homeschooling or some other level of education for their own students because they were so upset.
Right. Okay, then my last one, can we go to the previous, the Minetta? Now it's Westlake and Minetta. Reyes, what was her policy position similar to Westlake's, or can we say?
She was remarkably quiet.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. In politics, we call that an anybody but vote.
Okay.
So we'll see where that 30% goes in the general. Just a note about the general election, too. In this primary election, countywide, we had 30.3% of the voters show up. And that's a June non-presidential primary. We expect a low number, especially because it's June. People aren't really paying a lot of attention. Now, the differentiator there was that everybody got their their ballot in the mail. For the first time. You would think that number would jump up, but it really did not. those of us, that do this for a living are really keeping a close eye on certain precincts in certain areas to see if they're going to turn out to vote in the general election. Campaign season, in my world, starts when school starts, because that's when people really start paying attention to the things going on around them instead of just, who's going to pack the trailer before we take off this weekend. So campaign season is among us, and we will see what the get out the vote machines look like for both the Republicans and Democrats, and then on partisans. Now, keep in mind, the Minetto race, if these were broken up by political party, and they're not, in Washoe County, and in fact the state of Nevada, 30% Republican, 30% Democrat, 30% independents at this point. That's our registered voter statistics. So if you're a Republican running for a partisan race or a Democrat running in a partisan race, you really got to go out and capture that 30% of nonpartisan voters who are going to be energized. And polling shows that they're a little cranky with what the political parties sent them for the general election. So ranked choice voting will also be on the ballot. I have a feeling that's going to be very, very popular.
Kaylin?
Yeah, Tom, thanks so much. Not really as much a question, but just to address the board, and I don't want to take any of your thunder. I know you got to kind of be even keel on these things. Can't stress enough to everybody in this room how important these school board races are. Mm-hmm. So we have I know he doesn't want to say a slate, but we have a group within Washoe County called Save WCSD. They are a local group that is had actively recruited people to run for every school board race. We can have differences on opinions in terms of like politics and social views. Like I understand, like we're a very purple state, a purple district, but there's a difference between wanting to come in and make changes to the school district and push it forward in a positive direction and then like burn it down. Because we have people that are running for these positions that do not have the best interest of our educators and our students in mind. And I can be like very blunt and honest with you guys about this. Joe Rodriguez and Adam Mayberry and Ellen Minetto, the incumbents, the importance of getting them elected cannot be understated because of just the ability for our district to function and move forward in a constructive direction. I don't know if that's appropriate necessarily to bring up right now, but I know that you have to obviously say, but there is an existential, and I don't even use that term lightly, but like an existential threat in our community. They're going after school board races, they're going after county commissioner races, and that's who certifies elections. So like we can be Democrat and Republican, but we should all agree that like if you get the most votes, you win, right? So like we have people that are running for positions to really start to change the overall culture of our school district. So I would highly recommend you do the research on the opponents of Ellen Minetto and Joe Rodriguez and Adam Mayberry. From an educator standpoint, especially having Joe and Beth and Adam come on, like they are a godsend to educators in their support for the people in the school district. Minetto was a close race. She didn't even campaign. She didn't put out a single yard sign. She didn't send out a mailer. She didn't campaign at all. She still won the primary, which is very remarkable that she did. But I don't want to talk too much, and we are working very closely with those three on getting them reelected and putting like every ounce in resource that we can to make sure that our new superintendent has a board that's actually going to like support her and let her move forward in a positive direction instead of like getting in the way of everything that they want to do. So I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. And for the record, again, Tom Clark. I will tell you that from the national perspective, as we're watching what's happening in key battleground states like Nevada is, we are seeing a lot of the recruitment at the very, very local level of government for the long-term plan to get folks elected in seats that they normally wouldn't run for so that they can go into bigger office, larger offices down the road. So I will always say, do your research before you fill in your dot, mail in your ballot, because it's from my perspective, because I love this district so much, it's really, really important that we have some gadflies. That's great. We need the squeaky wheels. But this district is in a position where it needs to move forward full bore ahead. I'm reminded 22 years ago in 1998, Jim Hager was the brand spanking new superintendent. And there's a lot of similarities between then and now. And I like that excitement. I like that energy. And my own personal note, as far as the district is concerned, none of the candidates, I think it's going in the right direction at this time. And you guys have always been there for every single effort that I've seen. So that's fantastic, too.
Thank you. Michelle, did you have some comment?
Just a quick question, Mr. Clark. So when we're looking at the candidates, and you see, I'll use like Trustee Minetto, the two candidates, if they had the same political beliefs, do you generally see that those, so say Ms. Reyes obviously is not in the race, she didn't make it to the general. If they have the same political beliefs, do they typically then kind of get those voters? Like, what are you seeing historically when it comes to that?
Madam President, thank you for the question. I agree that Ms. Minetto needs to do more if she's going to be successful in this race. Incumbency has its benefits, but incumbency also has its challenges. And I'll speak just from any campaign that I've ever worked on. That's 30% of the vote that she really needs to go out and get. Because if it's a anybody but vote, then they will probably migrate to the other candidate. It's going to be a hard fought race for anybody in this political climate right now to really understand who's going to vote, how they're going to vote, and how you get your message in front of those voters. And some of those really tight races that we saw throughout the state are going to need, a real increase. They're going to need a lot of support, and they're going to need a lot of resources to be able to pull it off.
Thank you. Obviously, I need to ask that general standpoint due to my position, but I think that gives everybody a pretty solid information as to how campaigns work. So thank you.
Can we take a look at the maps so we can actually see where the districts land? I thought that was helpful, so you'll know what districts you're in and where maybe you already know. But I like the idea of, I think there's separate ones by district. Is that right, Tom?
The first map is
oh, it does say so.
all of the individual districts without the at-large districts.
Okay, cool.
And then the individual districts are listed
All right, good.
as you go through. And you can kind of see.
We'll have these handouts for everyone.
Yeah. And, the District C seat, goes all the way to Gerlach. Not a lot of voters up there. There's 80,000 people on their way, but they're not voters. But, yeah.
Okay, any more comments, questions? All right, Tom, thank you very much for being
Thank you so
here.
much. It's been a
And for
pleasure.
the information, we greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, moving on to, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, yes.
Looks like, for the record, Crystal, have you joined us?
I have. Hi, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person. It was great listening to all the agenda items this far.
Thank you, Crystal. Okay, moving on to item 2.05, presentation discussion of the Redfield Community Outreach Program. Kendall, do you want to introduce?
Yes, definitely. Well, the Redfield Community Outreach Program, as you may know, is a grant-funded program. It's been under the Education Alliance umbrella since its inception in 2013, and it supports teachers in getting students out of their zip code for educational and cultural opportunities. Really many students who would not otherwise have these incredible experiences. So I am so honored to introduce these three amazing leaders who make the magic of this program happen. And I'm telling you, the teachers of these more than 5,000 students at 12 schools have told us, and their principals have told us how helpful they are in kind of doing all the boots on the ground work for them. So without further ado, from left to right, Juan Calderon Saldana, Jen Clark, and Diane Longoria Howard. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. I'm Jen Clark, so I'm going to start off our presentation by reading our Redfield Community Outreach Program mission statement. And so through the generosity of the Nell J. Redfield Foundation, the mission of the Redfield Community Outreach Program, better known as RCOP, is to provide cultural and educational opportunities to students and families in the Washoe County School District. We strive to integrate the efforts of schools, nonprofits, and community organizations to support WCSD teachers and school staff as we provide our children with access to external educational resources.
Okay, let me get this a little closer. Okay, my name is Juan, and we're gonna go into talking about the goals of the program, and that's on this slide right here. So, what we'll do is we'll give a few examples of how we achieve each of these goals. So, the first goal is we try to provide students learning experiences with Redfield-sponsored partners, and so what we do, we're full staff members at each of our 12 schools, and that allows us to work with teachers, principals, counselors, any other site staff. We meet with them, provide them a menu of opportunities that are available in the community, and then we coordinate everything from logistics. We help pay for that. We give them permission slips, anything they need to really make this opportunity happen. And so we try to eliminate all those barriers, and that's one part of our job. The second the second goal is to reinforce the WCSD curriculum and standards. And so how we do that is, again, by being full staff members. When we meet with those teachers, we discuss the full year, and a lot of times they'll touch base with us and let us know what they're teaching in the classroom, and we will then refer to our resources and create an opportunity for them to bring something external to meet and kind of enrich it a little bit more. So an example would be fourth grade. Fourth grade, they focus a lot on Nevada history, and so we have we'll meet with the teacher, find out what they're learning exactly, and we can take them to the Nevada Historical Society, or we can actually take them to Andelin Family Farms this year because they themed their corn maze to directly align with fourth grade standards. So that's how we do that.
I'm Jen Clark. I don't know if I have to keep repeating my name or not. Okay. Okay, so another goal that RCOP strives for is to increase family engagement and involvement. And example of how we support the engagement and involvement of families in our programs is when we plan field trips, it's highly advised that they have adult volunteers, such as guardians or parents. And so we definitely want to have parent involvement in our programs. Field trips, I always enjoy inviting parents to field trips because not only are we giving the opportunity to students to come out of their school zip code and their community, but we're also giving that opportunity to parents because I feel that a lot of the parents don't have that resource or that opportunity because they just aren't welcome to participate in the type of activities that we provide for our RCOP schools. So another goal is to provide programming aligned with the school performance plan, and that's through the ESSA Evidence Connectedness Improvement Strategy with students, staff, family, and the community. And that's a lot of words, but basically each school, whether you're at elementary school, middle school, or high school, you have a school performance plan. It's like your report card, and it represents how you're performing as a school. And ESSA stands for Every Student's, let me check that out, Every Student Succeeds Act, and it's the Nevada state legislation. It replaced No Child Left Behind. And so that's all the goals that Juan and I shared. It affects the school performance plan and how administrators can use that in their ESSA Evidence Connectedness Improvement Strategy. So those are the 4 goals that RCOP strives to support at our RCOP schools.
So I have a quick question, if I can just jump in. So you're saying that really the support that you're giving is to the teachers of each of those grade levels in bringing those students out of their zip code. So you do everything about what's the part that the teacher does? They just contact you and tell you what they want to do, or how does that work?
Okay, so I'm going to give an example of how I was a teacher, or I am still a teacher, but I've taught for 23 years. I taught kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. And my relationship with RCOP is through Diane. She was my facilitator at Dunn Elementary School. And so how Diane connected with me as a teacher was she provided the opportunities through email, through conversations, through one-on-one meetings. And the contact was through Diane, and Diane served as my liaison. So that was our job as RCOP facilitators. We serve as liaisons between the assigned schools. We each have 3 elementary schools and 1 middle school that we are assigned to. We're part of the staff, and through your facilitator, they provide the opportunity through the community outreach program, our partners. And as a teacher, you decide whether it works with your curriculum and standards that you're teaching for your grade level, your schedule. And I used to always say it happened like magic, because all I had to do was tell Diane I was interested, and she pretty much would take care of the rest of the planning. And it made life as a teacher easier because of the time that you would put as a teacher. It's a lot of time, and for that person to help you with all the logistics, it just makes your teaching and your life as a teacher easier. And it's opportunities for the students. That's what I always thought of first. It's always helping them to get out into the community. So thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
We also work with principals at the schools and counselors, and just it really depends on who wants to do what. And then they'll some of the principals are rock stars, and we'll say, we'll approach them and say, what do you think of this? And they'll jump on it and they'll just run with it, and then we really don't have to do much. And other people need to be talked into things a little bit, and so it just depends. But all of our principals have extreme buy-in, and they're very helpful with us as well. You bet. Does anybody else? I think you wanted us to wait until the end, right?
I'll save mine for the end.
Okay, so I'll go over the history with you guys. Has everyone heard of the Redfield Foundation? Is there anyone who has not heard of Redfield? Okay, so years ago, they noticed that they had all these community partners that they supported, and they realized that schools from a certain demographic were not getting into these various places, the Discovery Museum, the Museum of Art, all these places that are our partners. And so they decided to start this program at the school. It was a 3-year pilot. It started in 13-14 school year. I came aboard during the 2nd year, and during that time we still had 1 middle school each. There were only 2 facilitators, 1 middle school each and 1 elementary school each. And they've talked about how we've grown the program now to 12 schools and 3 facilitators. So you guys can see everything that it says there, all the school names and stuff like that. Juan came aboard the 2nd year, or the 3rd year. Actually, I came aboard the 2nd year. And then Jen became part of our team last year after working with you for, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So next year will be our 10th anniversary. So it changed from a pilot, a 3-year pilot, to indefinite. And we are on a grant from the Redfield Foundation. It comes 100% from the Redfield Foundation. So they not only fund us, but they give us a budget to spend at each of our schools. So we get to take them to all these wonderful places. So if you can go to the next. So we not only have field trips, but we have inside workshops, and we have family engagement nights with family STEM nights and stuff like that. So we had a really hard year with the first year of COVID. Most of our, the spring is jam-packed with something. I have up to an event at each of my schools any given day. So I have between 1 and 4 events, sometimes more, and we cover for each other and help each other too. But we had to cancel a ton of stuff that spring. And then the next year was virtual for a lot of the students. All of our partners could not come into the schools. So we worked with our partners to put together virtual programming that we not only used at our schools, but the entire school district used that year. So that now our partners, we usually meet with all of them during the summer. Now they have an in-person, but they also have the virtual option if it ever gets to that point. So, I'm sorry?
I was just going to say the virtual is still helpful to teachers in
Absolutely.
that they can still access those virtual programs if they can't do the field trips.
Absolutely. And we're anticipating that we will be back to pre-pandemic levels, and we'll hopefully, well, we're going to make it happen. We're going to pass the 1 million interactions mark this year, pending that nothing changes, because last year we didn't know from one moment to the next. And well, when one gets to it, you'll know, but we could not have large gatherings at the schools, and that impacted our numbers, but we still did really well last year as opposed to the year before. And so hopefully this year it'll get even better. So.
So right here we have a pretty neat little visual so you can kind of get a better understanding of how it works. So we will meet with our partners and we will explore new opportunities in the community, and we take that, create a menu, put it sometimes by grade level or specific to counselors or specific to if they're looking for music or something like that. We put in a nice little menu and we inform the school staff. And then after they're informed and we receive, feedback on what they want or what they're looking to plan, that's where all the work on our site begins. And so we go to advise staff and family when the event's going to take place. We reserve the transportation for them, and then we also notify them of what the budget is for the year, and we manage that budget for them, let them know how much they have remaining for the year, or where we can get something for free, how we can stretch our dollar, that kind of stuff, just so each grade level really gets a lot for the year.
One thing I forgot to mention was that the Redfield Foundation saw that in that first year that we spent half of our budget on transportation, so they bought us 2 buses and during the second year to be operated through the Boys and Girls Club, and last year they bought us 2 more. So we are able to serve multiple schools at a time with district transportation, with the Redfield transportation as well, and that does not come out of our budget. That comes, the Boys and Girls Club send the bill directly to Redfield, so that doesn't impact our budget at all. So that's just an additional way that they help students.
Excuse me. Okay, so for how the Redfield Community Outreach Program works, the teacher's perspective for me is that it makes the planning easy for teachers. And so I'm always going to think about teacher first because I am a teacher. Students, I'm always thinking about no matter what, because I am a teacher at heart forever. But the opportunities that RCOP provides for the students, it's amazing. And it just really does make the planning easier for teachers. It supports ELA, English Language Arts, the field trips, workshops, and assemblies, opportunities that are provided through our partners. It supports ELA, supports STEM, supports art. That's a big thing, is the art, because I know that's missing in the classrooms. So I'm always pushing for that with my teachers. It's like the kids need more art, because it's, especially with social emotional learning, they need that outlet to express themselves. It supports physical education. It supports social emotional learning, but it encompasses all the things that kids need outside of the classroom, as well as bringing what they experience in the community and bringing it back to the classroom. So it brings a lot of background knowledge and just brings experiences of living in Reno Sparks Tahoe community that they would not get if they weren't part of RCOP or part of a RCOP school. And again, it also gives the opportunities to families that not only can your students participate in the activities in the school setting, but also you can take your kids as a family, and you have these opportunities. So that's the teacher perspective and parent perspective, and the flow of how RCOP works for us as facilitators is we're also known as the field trip teachers. Whenever the kids see us, like whenever I come to Lincoln Park, for example, the kids know when they see me, they always ask what field trip are they going to do next. And so when they talk about me, they always say, when's that field trip teacher coming back? So to be known for that is a very special thing. So I honor that, and these two have been helping me out so much with being the facilitators and the mentors in the position.
I get thank you letters from kids addressing me as Mrs. Redfield. So that's pretty fun too.
Okay, and then finishing, basically how the program works, after we manage the budget and go through that, the workshop or field trip or assembly will take place. And the great thing about the program is we're able to collect feedback, or we hear what the teachers liked or didn't like about whatever took place, and we can then meet with our partners the following summer, let them know what improvements might be made, or just really shine on the great work that they're doing. And so that allows us to really build a great partnership with all our community partners, especially when it got back to after the pandemic. For example, the Nevada Museum of Art used us as a guinea pig really to start to open the doors for other schools. And so they knew that they can count on us to provide them with feedback. We met with them last summer, and they opened the doors only to our schools, and just to see what the programming would look like, capacity guidelines, and then after that all went through, we provided them with feedback, and now they're opening up to all the schools this year. So it's really a great partnership that we have.
Who wants to go first?
There's a bunch of the partners in ed and
Yes.
the partners, and it's not limited to these. In fact, these three coordinators are actively always seek different opportunities with partners in ed and partners in the community for these students to experience.
So there's, on this page, it's about 39, and we do have other partners in education, but these are also a list of the Redfield sponsored partners. We meet with them in the summer, and we just make connections or reconnect, and then talk about the new opportunities, the feedback like Juan had just stated. And then three of us are going to each highlight a partner that we worked with during the summer. So I'll go first. Not the summer, but the whole year. And the one that I want to highlight is the Discovery Museum off Center Street. And the reason why I chose the Discovery Center or Discovery Museum is because I planned a lot of field trips for my RCOP school. So I was there on the weekly. So in addition to planning, we also get to join as chaperones if there's a lack of chaperones or they need more chaperones on the field trips. And so at the Discovery Museum, they offer two types of opportunities. It's the school field trips or family science nights. And really it's fostering partnerships for the teachers, for the students, for the staff and the families to participate in their field trips or family STEM nights. And family STEM nights I think is awesome because each RCOP school that signs up for a family STEM night at the Discovery Museum, you really just get this museum all to yourself as a school. And it's a special time because they don't have to share it with any other schools. It's just to themselves. It's families and students and teachers coming together to honor and celebrate their school.
And the Discovery Museum has scholarship applications that she, mentioned. But so say we could. Oh, can you guys hear me? Okay. So for $25, which is the application fee, for example, we could have one of our Title I schools have a family night with 200 people, 300 people, and it's covered through financial aid. So that's just, we basically have $11 per student to spend for the school year. So that helps us stretch our money really far. I'm so tired I can squeak, because I want to really stretch that money as far as I can, and to have as many interactions as possible for the students and families. So, do you want to?
Yeah, and then so the program that I wanted to highlight was the Northern Nevada Literacy Council, and that's from personal experience as a parent and as part of being part of this program. So they have a program called the Family Reading Program, and what they do is they go to a school site specifically. They work with pre-K through second grade, and what they do is they bring books and provide each family with a book, and they sit around in a circle and have story time, but they're teaching the parents how to use strategies at home to really reinforce those habits of reading and what questions to ask for your kids. And how it impacted me as a parent was my 9-year-old stepson. He was born in Puerto Rico, and so when he moved here, he was 4, and I brought him with me thinking it'd be fun and we'll see how it goes. And I credit that program with his reading now, because we sat down, we did a bunch of stuff together. We created a project that was directly kind of tied to what was the story, and they gave him a book that was in English and Spanish, and so he hasn't put books down since, and so that's kind of the power of the partnerships that we have, and so us as in this position, we can really advocate to bring those programs into those schools, and then that word really spreads to teachers in other schools, and we hope that, you know, their reach continues to grow with just what we can provide.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, sorry. I know you might have said this already. How many schools are you guys expanding into?
We're in
into
12
the-
schools
12
at this point, yeah.
Are you guys looking to expand?
The Redfield Foundation would love to be in every title school and every bubble school in the school district. But they're working on trying to find some funding, other partners to contribute.
Sure. Great.
So I was going to talk about the art museum, but one kind of touched on that. So another one of my favorites, if not my ultimate favorite, is UNR. The campus, you know, is so welcoming to students, and I feel that you cannot get those kids there often enough. You know, because we get them there, they say, well, we're students for the day, you know, and I say, you know, some of them, I'll get them there and they'll be nervous, and I'll say they're students just like you, only bigger, you know, and so they're like, oh, okay, that's okay, you know. There's so many. There's Dean's Future Scholars. There's, you know, the Fleshman's Planetarium. There's the Robotics Center. That the Museum of Natural History is wonderful because the kids actually get to go in a classroom, and they get to do a scientific examination on live animals, and you know, and then they have a tour of the, you know, what they have in their collection. And with the Lilly Museum of Art is very welcoming as well. Seismology lab is super cool if anybody's ever been there. One time I had the kids in the seismo area, and afterwards a boy came up to me and he said, do you have to have a beard to work here? Because all of it seemed like everybody walking by either had Burks or a beard, you know, so it was really funny. So, and I love getting parents there as well, especially parents who do not have a college education, because they could see that it's attainable for their kids, and it's not this crazy, you know, unattainable, untouchable thing, that they can actually see themselves there and see their kids there. So, the Redfield Foundation does a When I Grow Up event. It's teamed with women's basketball, and every college within the university has a table, and they present to the kids and stuff like that, and the kids get to see the basketball game and, you know, get Dippin' Dots in the concourse and stuff like that. But then you take them to the Museum of Natural History, and they're like, this is the same place? You know, so we show them quite a bit of UNR, and I love doing that. So that's one of my favorites.
And before moving on, I did want to say that, you know, this list is big, and we're always looking for new opportunities and new offerings for our schools. But if you know something, or if your business, you might think like our schools need financial literacy too, and so that it doesn't have to be a field trip necessarily. It could be you coming into the classroom, or having your organization come into the classroom and present to students, and that's really valuable too. And if it's after school or a certain class, we can always, you know, that's what we're here for, so we can provide that sort of guidance to get in the school district.
I just wanted to highlight just one more thing through UNR. Manny Ortiz and I worked with each other to Dean's Future Scholars, and I got to set up a Dilworth Middle School ELL, it's English Language Learners. And so Manny and I got to collaborate, and he and his mentor gave us a tour of Dean's Future Scholars, the Mackey Stadium, and met us after the Nevada Historical Society, and then gave us an extended tour. So I just wanted to highlight Manny's involvement in RCOP and providing us with that cool tour. And just to have the kids see that there was an opportunity that they could be at UNR someday as college students.
Yeah. And also the Redfield Foundation partnered with UNR Athletics. So we had, every month last year, we had an event, the kids' families, not just families, but teachers and their families and stuff like that, got to go to a football game. They got to do, you know, was women's volleyball. You know, there was a different sport every month. And so the Redfield Foundation, made that possible for us too, and all of our schools and the families.
Very
So,
generous, and I
yeah.
know there's people in this room, and I know you're working with TMCC
Mm-hmm.
also on the robotics and so forth, but, they're getting kids out of their zip code shows them it illuminates, it's totally our mission, right? It illuminates pathways for them. If they
Yeah.
can see it and they meet, real people, and if they're touring Channel 2 or whatever, COVID kind of put the kibosh on that, but it's happening again. And the more opportunities we have to illuminate pathways for students, I call RCOP the model partner in education program.
And they're so diverse. We have from Animal Arc to UNR to the art museum, and then we have Sierra Nevada Journeys, so we have lots of science. It really just depends on what you want to do, and we're always open if the teachers contact us and say, what do you think of this? And as long, the foundation told us in the very beginning, here's a list of our partners, get people there. And then during, I think it was the third year, Jerry said, oh no, that was just a starting point. He said, as long as it's educational, you could do it. So we're like, okay, great. So from then we just kind of took it and ran with it. So.
Okay. So this slide, we're going to highlight the interactions that we've been able to achieve every year. So this is really talking about the impact that we've had in each of our schools. So each bar represents a year that and highlights the interactions that we achieved. And an interaction is anytime a student participates in an assembly, a workshop, if we take them out on a field trip, or if it's virtual, we'll count those too. And what we're working towards and what we really feel confident that we can achieve is reaching 1 million student interactions by the end of this school year. That is something we feel very confident in. We are working and we can have assemblies again, and so we are really excited to be able to provide that level of impact to the students in our community. And then the next slide, I think.
Yes. So looking ahead, like Diane said earlier, for the school year, our COP schools, depending on the student population, the number of students that attend each school, each student gets $11 to spend on transportation, fees for field trips, in-class workshops, including virtual, and then also school-wide learning activities like family STEM nights and assemblies. And like Diane said, we use them well, and there's also community partners where they don't have any fees, so we try to use those opportunities as well.
So to clarify, the students don't get the $11. That's the budget, that's the estimated budget per student for all 5,200 schools, or 5,200 students, so it depends on population. I just wanted to
Yes.
clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the first couple of years, we just had a certain amount of money per school, and then, say, Cold Springs Middle School was one of my schools, and it had 1,000 students. And another of the smaller schools, say Tolles, had 250 students. So it wasn't apples to apples, so we then split it per student rather than per school. Because I found myself at the end of the year borrowing money from Juan's, one of his schools or something like that, that didn't spend as much because they just didn't have that many kids. So we invite additional collaborative opportunities in the community to help us. We touched on that earlier, and also we touched on that additional funding is being sought. So.
May I say something real quickly? I just want to thank you guys for coming here. This was great and very educational for me. And one thing that I just want to share with everybody that I think called the most attention to me, or out of everything that you do, that I think is great, is exposing the parents to some of these some of these programs, because I think a lot of the work that we do, we're so focused on students and students and students, which is great. But the fact that we're getting parents, whether it's at the university or other of these partners, I know that when I used to work at the Nevada Museum of Art, we were doing the same thing too, trying to expose parents, especially in communities that don't necessarily have that type of accessibility. I think it's fantastic, and having the parents realize that these things are doable and tangible and tactile, it goes the furthest with student success. So I just wanted to share that thought, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? No. I'm looking at this. I'm like, where's the Gigafactory on here? I have some work to do.
We list there. We go to Tesla Gigafactory through our partnership with Envirolution, and so Envirolution is on there, and they're the point of contact that we use to go through using their program called Career Quest. And so Tesla is a Career Quest partner, and they have, I think, 8 other corporate business partners that we're looking to take kids to this year, but they are under Envirolution.
Your speaker's not on.
When Dr. Enfield talked about talking with Tesla and about transportation and stuff like that, My Ride to Work has offered to take us on field trips. So there's another source for transportation for our students to get out there. And that would be fantastic, because now our trips to Tesla are very short, especially from Cold Springs, driving all the way out to Tesla. They can only be there, they could be picked up at the earliest is 9:30. It's usually, with the transportation issues, it was closer to 10. And then by the time they get there, they have to do their quick tour and then leave. But My Ride to Work can pick them up. They're there at 7:15, 7 o'clock in the morning. So they could pick them up after breakfast. And so we have, more opportunities. So hopefully all that'll work.
Thank you, guys. I just want to mention one quick thing is, these 3 work so hard to align with classroom, what's happening, units in the classroom. They've developed grade level curriculum for teachers. When they go into a school, they talk about, okay, here's where things are aligned, and bringing Jen on is a beautiful thing to help teachers in their daily life, so that they actually have time and the opportunity to bring these experiences to their kids without doing a lot of the kind of the footwork and so forth. And the goal is we're looking for supporters, donors, foundations, whoever can support it. Just finished writing a grant for something similar to it, and bragged about this program being the model. So it's all about money, and the number one barrier for kids getting out of their zip code is transportation. So that's part of the program too, and I am grateful to all 3 of you for the hard work that you do every day.
Just a quick comment first off. It was my privilege to partner with these 3 individuals last year, not only through the field trips, but also through the Redfield series. That was amazing for a lot of families. And so I just want to ask, are you all going to do the Redfield series again this year? Or?
Jerry mentioned it. We had a meeting with him last week, and it depends on if he could get buy-in from the new athletic director. So he wants to do it. They absolutely want to do it. So if he's the kind of person that makes things happen. So I'm very confident that it will happen. We'll let everybody know when we know. So.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. All right, we do still have a few items on the agenda we have to get through today. So moving right along to item 2.06, an update on the 2022 Pi Champion Awards television special. I know Kendall is super excited to talk about
Yes, and
this
I
one.
had announced a date to exec, but we actually pushed it off. We will know an air date here in the next couple of weeks. We had a tentative date, but we want to make sure we have enough time to get the word out. Landon, I'm so excited that you're the anchor and the presenter of the Pi Champion Awards. We saw the preliminary award special. It's 28 minutes and 3 segments. And I know what you guys are doing. Anyway, I just want to let you know that we saw the preliminary, and you will all be blown away. So as soon as I have that date, I'll let you know, and we'll probably celebrate in some wonderful way. our pie champions.
Yes, very much looking forward to that. All right, item 2.07, another exciting topic that we have to, because we're looking at dates and all these things, is the signature fundraising event coming up that we've been talking about. I think we kicked it off in March, right? So right and close. So Kendall, I will turn it over to you.
So before we dive in, I want to share today's quote from the Kindness Book because I want to put you guys all in a mindset, okay? It's an African proverb. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So here's where I'm going to rally you all together, okay? Here we go. June 6th, we all approved a budget for a kickoff fundraising event aligned with our mission in supporting district students, teachers, and schools. We are ready to launch Caring for Classrooms. This will support all 103 schools and provide funding for the top 5 needs. And I have to tell you, in my almost 18 years here, gaps in funding in the classroom have consistently been the top 5 needs that you saw on the handout. I don't know if you've had a chance to peruse it at all. These 5 needs literally, in fact, our recent Pinpoint a Partner School survey that we sent to all principals really back up these 5 needs, that these are the gaps. For example, 92.5% of principals listed teacher staff appreciation as one of these top 5 needs, and 77.4% listed student engagement. Right now, we're facing some really high double-digit numbers, and I think it's 27% chronic absenteeism. And to engage student, you have to recognize them, you have to involve them, you have to make sure that they are bravoed about their academics, but also their attendance, their behavior, and so forth. And so those are some of the top percentages coming. So with that, we present to you an evening of pure imagination. This is a vision board that Brittany put together. Expand that, get rid of the thing over there and get it over here. It's a fun theme around Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We see it as heavy appetizers, dessert, of course chocolate, what the heck, adult beverages, and non-alcoholic ones as well. We see it as being a kickoff event in October, and we actually have a date now. We spent about 4 months looking at various locations, and I want to thank Victoria Mason. We have a date on the calendar, November 19th. It's a Saturday at El Dorado Convention Center, and I meet tomorrow with their catering and salespeople. Victoria, I cannot thank you enough. I know you were there. She's not feeling well, and I appreciate you hanging in there with us. But I'm so excited to see what we can do at the El Dorado on November 19th. So we see, again, tables, we see golden ticket opportunities to win raffle prizes, some surprise ways to win, and some planned ways to win. I have to thank Landon Miller also for agreeing to MC this event, be the master of ceremonies, the Willy Wonka master of ceremonies. The whole concept of, how many people have watched the movie? More than once. More than twice. The original, right? So one of the statements is like, do we not love it? It's like a classic. So, and some of the expressions are like, so shines a good deed in a weary world. Do we not need to have a good deed? And that's what we're all doing. And so we see this as an event, as I've always mentioned to you, and as the What Next Warriors recommended, is that it's an event so fun that maybe you even kind of forget what charity, but you know you're supporting teachers. Victoria, chime in.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
bless your heart.
Excuse my voice. We are so excited to participate and support this event, and I know that our creative team is going to just love jumping in. When I talked to our catering director briefly about the event, as soon as I told her what the theme was, she lit up in smiles. I know that they're going to be that everybody's going to be very excited to create something really, really special.
Oh my gosh, that means the world, Victoria. It is going to be special. We want this to reverberate through our community, through your voices and through the opportunity that it brings. Crystal, thank you for the meme.
I'm laughing over here. I'm so excited about this.
So there'll be a lot of sponsor ideas. So here I want to show you next the concept, the draft of the invitation. An evening of pure imagination. In your wildest dreams, you could not imagine the marvelous surprises that await you. We are not going to complicate it. We believe in the keep it simple, sweetheart kiss method. We will have top prizes of probably, I'm thinking 5 to maybe 10 top, and I'm talking my favorite prize would be a wagon of wine. Prizes that you can get golden tickets. There'll be a couple ways to win. You can purchase them. And Landon will be drawing one throughout the night. We don't want it to go on too long. There'll be a surprise way to do it, to win one at the very beginning. Landon, you'll tell everyone how this night will go. There'll be some incredible food. And of course, I am looking for an event team. Caring for Classrooms, C4C, C4 Bomb, baby. I'm looking for a team sign up to be on this committee to help us plan this event. Lauren is already on, Christine, and of course, Victoria. But I need your creative ideas for great raffle prizes and opportunities. In fact, the superintendent has already offered either a happy hour or a dinner with the superintendent. And I see they're having other opportunities with our current sponsors. There'll be sponsorship opportunities for just the stations, the food stations, as well as title sponsorship. Just buy a table, buy a ticket, and we're kind of capitalizing on the word imagination. Imagine a student feeling engaged. Imagine a teacher feeling empowered. You use the word empowered. Brittany already grabbed that. And a thriving district, again, celebrating all the great things that are happening. And as people also learn about the top 5 needs. So you guys have the handout. This is kind of what we've already started with. We need ideas for a favor. And what will happen next is that we will send out a Google, a Google sign up, Google Doc for sign up with descriptions of what we need help with. We're not going to make everyone run around and get a silent auction or auction baskets. We're going to get 5 or 8 big ticket items. I'm so grateful to some of our friends already that have had great ideas on that. I take your comments and your feedback right now. Brittany, I think I really love your draft documents already, but I open the floor.
Brittany, can you zoom in on that so we can just see? Thank you.
I'm in. This is awesome. I love the way this is coming together. So great work, team. I want to be a part of it. Thank you.
I'm in too, Kendall. This is fantastic. I love the Caring for Classrooms. I think it's a great segue from the Healing Through Health. You know, we're moving on to be holistic. It speaks to students, it speaks to teachers, it speaks to the celebration and of the accomplishments of both that we've been talking about. So yes, I'm in on the committee.
If there's anything else I can do to help, I'd love to. I have a few ideas already as we've been speaking.
Excellent.
Go get it.
And I've already called dressing up as the grandfather that night. So if anyone has any objections, you can meet me in the parking lot because that's mine.
That is a good question. Is there costumes involved? I mean,
What do you guys think about giving a golden ticket, a raffle ticket, to everyone who dresses up? Like, so if you dress up in a character, you get an extra raffle ticket?
I think that's fun and it
love
encourages
that.
participation. Also, just for what it's worth, when you said a favor, first thing that came to mind is a chocolate bar, obviously, you know, with a wrapper. But when they open it up, maybe a picture of a Washoe County School District kid with a little story and where they go. Obviously, they'd have to sign off permission to put that out there, but and what their dream for the future is, or something like that, you know, just so that they are our golden ticket.
And that's
Like
such a great,
at the end of the day,
Yes,
you know,
that's-
each of these children are our golden ticket. So everyone feels like they get to open up to something like special.
Thanks, Kaylin. Okay. No worries. You know what? I have to tell you, Jill, this is one of the visions for the ticket itself, is that each ticket, and we got to talk about how we're going to do this because my mind's going to explode, but each ticket has a story and a kiddo saying how, you know, a field trip, or how one of these things, or a teacher's face, a testimonial per se, or a way so that everyone that has one of these tickets in their hands learns more about the needs. And then, of course, utilizing Michelle's incredible videographer to tell that story in a short video at the end of the event before we draw the grand prize. So as many ways as we can, even at the app stations, you know, did you know that, you know, most students, you know, or about the chronic absenteeism or something that highlights the need. Love that.
So just to clarify, how many people does Victoria, this is probably a question for you. How many people can be invited to this per occupancy with the space? Roughly,
Well, we estimated about to start as the inaugural event, we estimated 200 to 300 people.
Okay.
But if you think that we can go bigger and we can get more participation, we have other options for space. So, I mean, if it grows to outgrows that El Dorado Convention Center, we have other options we can look at.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
But I thought that was probably a safe number for our first event.
We had, I think, 200 at Healing Through Health at the Sparks Water Bar.
I like it. One other question. Oh, go ahead, Victoria.
Yeah. No, I was just going to reiterate though. So if we can have, you know, up to 300 easily, comfortably in that space. And, you know, that gives us wiggle room if we get good excitement, create some excitement in the community and good participation. We'll be very, very well suited for that location.
Wonderful, thank you. And I appreciate you speaking, because I know you don't feel well. I can hear it, we can hear it,
Oh,
but
it's
we
okay.
appreciate you.
Thank you. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. We're thankful for all of this. So if we were to have 300 people, when we think of, you know, table sales and tickets, do we have kind of an idea of how many tables we look to sell? Because we have a whole room of people here, you know, with their respective businesses and so on. Do we have an idea? 8 tops, 10 tops, kind of think of the
Typically
the Rays River.
Typically 8 tops are comfortable. But we can also add some high tops in there, the cocktail rounds. I mean, there's lots of ways to set it up. And tomorrow when Kendall meets with our creative director, they can talk about that, because we don't have to do rounds entirely. We can mix it up depending on how we want to set up the room. I mean, we talked about doing a big dessert area with like some sort of chocolate river or something. They'll get creative. So if we want to do some rectangular tables in there as well, and you can have like a special table for the superintendent and her, you know, sponsors, or I don't know. I mean, we can get as creative as everybody wants to get.
That's good.
So-
Because it's not really a sit-down meal per se. It is go to the heavy app stations, but you would purchase a table for you and your team to be at that table, because there's a couple ways to win at that table. And of course, we'd want to do some great centerpieces and so forth. And then also, yes, have a dessert, have a chocolate river of bonbons or whatever, creative, and have like maybe a signature drink, like a everlasting fizzy drink. But you won't be going up there and burping because I really don't want to do that. So yeah, and I envision, Lauren, to address that as well. Sponsors perhaps of each app station, which we would theme around, again, the food, but also the need. That we could, again, have a highlight of what the need is there. At those, does that make sense? I got goosebumps.
I think that's a great way to sell sponsorships, is to have the people's appetizer table or, station with a theme. So a business could pick an appetizer station with the theme, and then they could have representatives from their business there to help talk about the need.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's it. I will be reaching out to get your signups, to get your ideas. Did I miss anything, Brittany?
Yeah, I think the next step would just be to pinpoint, what each table price will be, tickets, all of that. Unless, did we already work through that?
Well, Brittany has started the sponsor form.
Got it. Yeah, I noticed. That's why I saw that, and I'm like, okay, well, what about tables? Because when I look at this, we're looking at $103,000 that we're looking to raise.
How did I miss that?
Per each school. So my mind always goes to numbers, as Kendall knows, and so I'm like, okay, well, 1 + 1 = 2. So how much do we need, and how many people? So we can probably tackle that with our team, and then regroup for next board of directors meeting with what we've come across. And yeah.
And then just as the other part of this handout that you have, the kickoff is at November 19th event. And then we wrap things up at Principal for a half day where we usually host that day in review lunch. And it's really the opportunity for an additional kind of sharing of the need, giving everybody an update on where we are with it, and then perhaps sponsorships for that lunch, because we usually have 200 in that room with from businesses and principals as well. So, kind of to help us cross the finish line if we haven't met our goal yet.
Perfect. Any other comments, questions for the wonderful night of pure imagination? And I want to say thank you to Brittany for all of your creative ideas that you put together. Your dream and your vision board is wonderful, so thank you for that. I know it's not twisting your arm to put things like that together. We know you enjoy doing that, but we're very appreciative of that for sure. Yeah?
So just taking a quick peek at the Golden Ticket Prize ideas, I just think of something sort of magical and whimsical would be if you could somehow secure a ride in one of the hot air balloons for the hot air balloon race. I just think that would be really cool.
And Jill's like, and also I will be hoping to win that. That's a great idea. Thank you, Jill.
Yeah, I can look into that if you'd like. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, well, moving right along to the last item 2.08, presentation discussion update on the structured programs and working groups of the Ed Alliance. We have a few little bullet points here. I'll have Kendall take it away just for EA update.
Yeah, just quickly. I want to shout out Panasonic's support of Hug High School. They're a new partner in education to this new school. How many people have gone on the tour of Hug High School? It's unbelievable. It's like a college campus or, a community college campus. It's amazing. So Panasonic came in at the end of last year and supported with some cash the Salute to Scholars, and also Grand Sierra hosted this event for scholars, the high school seniors that were going out. But moving forward, Panasonic and Hug being a beautiful new partnership. I really want to thank you, Victoria, the Row, 750 teachers, teacher supply tote bags, the cutest ever. Here's a photo here of that event. 23 high-need schools received these totes, plus all of this, the teachers that were put back into the classroom got extra totes. They went to this teacher's warehouse, thankfully, to many of the people in that room, Patty on the far left. And then also 200 backpacks went to children in transition kids. That's homeless children, classified as being homeless in the district's description. So it was a huge event, and I'm just so grateful to you, Victoria, and all of your team for putting together this event. This is the second year of it, so thank you, Victoria.
It was an absolute pleasure and an honor to be able to participate in that. Thank you.
So the Teacher's Warehouse, Colo 8 did an interview of Brittany and John. John, thank you for dropping off supplies. Greater Nevada Credit Union has been collecting supplies for a couple months for the Teacher's Warehouse, and they came together for an interview, which, by the way, has been streaming all that coverage that we had on Colo. Brought so many supplies I can't even hardly keep up. So that was perfect for the beginning of the year. We had a wonderful board orientation of 5 new members on July 28th. It was very productive. And I was so excited to support our newest board member, Ralph, at your new business, Pure Bar, which is a fitness location. Here's a little picture of the ribbon cutting. That was super cool. Christine, I've only been to 2 ribbon cuttings, Pure Bar and Panasonic, so I'll try to go to more as they are, but you know, my favorites are on the board. Ed Alliance co-sponsored the new educator lunch. There was 120 new teachers that came on board, and what we did to co-sponsor was we got a donation for a gift for each one of those new teachers, so that was pretty cool. I've been invited to judge the EDON Existing Industry Awards. I don't know if you've heard of this. This is an event that the EDON does every year to recognize businesses in our community. There's many different categories like philanthropist and activity with education and top community employee-loved businesses and so forth. The event is on October 20th. I'd love your representation at that event. It's I don't know, it's $20 or $30 for heavy apps and stuff like that, but it's kind of cool event. And I hope that you all received an invitation from EDON. Ed Alliance is co-hosting with EDON, the Chamber, and the Washoe Foundation, a welcome reception for the new superintendent. So I hope you can all come. It is by invitation only, board members of those organizations as well as elected officials. So it'll be kind of a cool, intimate opportunity. We also assist every year our Pi Champion, the Assistance League. We facilitate their program Links to Learning. It's funding for teachers at 26 schools. So every single one of those teachers at 26 schools can apply for $400 to do a project, and we help introduce them to the principals and so forth.
Wonderful. So many exciting things going on. It's a great time.
I felt compelled. I mean, you all need to know kind of the things that we have our fingers in, and if you're interested in any of the things I went through, I would love you to be there with me by my side.
Kendall, just a quick question about the reception for Superintendent Infield. Is there a cost involved for that event?
That's a great question. There is a cost. It's $20. It's to help offset costs of the event, which will be at Atlantis, heavy hors d'oeuvres, open bar. So I think what's happening primarily is that we are asked, all of our boards are asked to support that, and then we've been asked to support up to a certain dollar amount. So that kind of balances it out, so that the nonprofits, Chamber and Alliance don't full bill.
And that is a great segue to our next point, is being a 100% giving board. This is something that we've had with Ed Alliance for quite some time. Just to very brief, very quick, it is an accolade that we receive each year for the board being 100% giving. So no donation is too large, too small. That can be made directly on our website. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to myself, Kendall, but I'll be reaching out to each and every one of you. The deadline is October 15th. And yeah, we want to keep that nice little accolade with us, of course. Yeah, only 100 nonprofits in Northern Nevada have it. So keep momentum alive. And on that note, who's going to row Shambo for a board member spotlight? Huh?
Go ahead, Jill. It's all you.
Hey, you know what? That's great. Looks like
I still take it.
oh. I think that for respective time, we should do that. Okay. It'll give you guys more time to really put that long speech together. And she's like, okay, perfect. So I will. Okay, perfect. Brief updates, TMCC, UNR, and Washoe County School District.
I can share a little bit. Today we welcomed students back the first day of the semester for TMCC, so it was great after a quiet summer to see students going through the halls, finding their classes. It's good to see the campus alive again after a period of pandemic, and we've been just incrementally sort of reintroducing more and more face-to-face classes into our schedule. So it's good to see the parking lots a bit fuller than we have in the past. Kind of a boring piece, but important to the college. We are up for our national accreditation through the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. We're on a 7-year cycle for reaffirmation of our accreditation. So we have submitted our report that accompanies that process, and we will have a site visit from the evaluation team from the Northwest Commission on October 12th through 14th. So it's a big deal for the college. And then kind of a fun update. This year is the year of sustainability at TMCC. Our campus and our president and our faculty are very proud of efforts across the college to make us a green and sustainable campus. And so we have a number of events and programming and efforts around that. So I'll leave it there.
You have your TMCC colors on too, I see.
Start class today, yeah.
Okay, this is David Shintani. We're having our Nevada Fit Week this week. So we have over 3,000 freshmen on campus. That's a required program basically to get them acclimate to campus, not just the community, but also kind of the expectations of what's going to happen this year when they come into the classroom. We gave out over 3,000 iPads to all our incoming freshmen. And we want to thank Greater Nevada Credit Union for helping sponsor some scholarships to support these students. So we gave out iPads this year, not just to incoming freshmen, but also to transfer students. So I spent this weekend doing transfer fit. So this is what, again, acclimating transfer students to campus, and I think it went really well. It was something a little different than we have done in the past with the only the freshmen. This summer, as July 1, we took ownership of Sierra Nevada University, so now it's called University of Nevada, Reno at Lake Tahoe. So that campus is quite beautiful. We're working to have the students that are there complete their degrees, and we're starting to strategize on how to use that campus. One of the ideas was to have a semester at Tahoe kind of opportunities for students. The idea would be we'd have some kind of thematic program going on there. We have invited scholars and things like that to work with our students for a semester. And so that's not set in stone, but that's something we're working on. Let's see, what else are we doing? There's a lot of effort now to become a true minority serving institution. I mean, TMCC is already an HSI. We're kind of emerging HSI, and so we are working closely with a lot of folks to try to make that happen. I think one of the things that we really want to do is embrace the Latinx community to help support that effort. So we've hired a new director for Latinx community engagement through campus. We also have hired a director for Indigenous tribal relations. I'm not even sure what the title is actually, but basically working with sovereign nations, tribal nations in the state of Nevada to make sure that we're serving them in the way we should. Well, I think of other things. I can't think of anything else. There's a lot of things. President Sandoval has lots of new initiatives that are going forward. So, thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. And Brittany, update. Oh, just kidding. At least I didn't strike out. It's only twice.
I am totally fine being compared to Brittany. That is a huge compliment. I will have to say, as you heard from Dr. Enfield, she is passionate, she is extremely intelligent, and she is full of fire. And it is a pleasure to get to work with her. We had our first day of school, as you guys all know, last week, and then today we went out to our kindergartners because it was their first day today, and then our incline schools. And then next week we have our construction has occurred at several of our schools. So we have Swope, Veterans, Risley, and Trainer. Their first day of school is next week. I would say I think Dr. Enfield is bringing some excitement because for the first time in a long time that I can recall, even when I was previously here, we had the governor attend, we had the state superintendent attend, we had the lieutenant governor join us, we had U.S. Senator Jackie Rosen join. We had a lot of dignitaries that came with us, and what was really heartening is though she appreciated all that company, for her it was about the kids, and so you watched her branching out and going by herself so that she could really have those interactions with our students, and so that was very heartwarming. You guys are going to see in the coming weeks, if you haven't already seen her entry plan, it is on the front page of the district's website, and we have it in English and Spanish, and she really outlines, as she mentioned, her priorities and where she is going to be gathering information from our communities and from our families and from our students. I'll just give a couple different opportunities. We're going to be having town halls with trustees, so she's going to be out there getting feedback. We're going to be announcing one in the next day or so for the next week and a half. She's also going to be having coffee conversations with community members. She's getting into the schools and actually having some informal meetings with some of our school staff. She calls that Soup with the Soup, where she actually brings in soup to the schools and actually sits down. It's something that she did up in Highline, but actually just sitting back and listening to them as to what their needs are. She's going to be meeting with administrators after hours, after school hours to hear from them, and then really going to our student advisory council and hearing from them. So it is, I don't know how she is keeping up. She's already hit over a dozen schools since she's been here. I think today was her 8-week mark. I don't know if she said that today, but she's just hitting the ground running. I think probably one of the best stories I have heard from her that really represents our students is she went to the Children's Cabinet fundraiser, as Ms. Tolles knows, and she bid on a artist piece from one of our students. And somebody came up to her afterwards and actually wanted to pay her because she was up against them. And she says, nope, I actually know this student. I will say it was 4 digits they offered her, and she said, no, I'm going to decline because I need some new artwork. I know this student. I want to have it in my office and at my home. And so I just, it's pretty incredible to see that. And I'm looking forward to seeing where we go from here. Like she mentioned, we are starting to plan for next school year in a couple weeks, and lots of exciting things and lots of opportunities for all of you guys, not only at the Welcome Center, but to participate as business leaders and as community members to voice and meet the superintendent and tell her what you would like to see.
Wonderful. I also wanted to make note that if you haven't seen her social media presence, it is incredible. I have never, not that I've never seen it, but in this capacity, I guess if that's even the word to say it, she is just on it. And I'm sure as a communications, we look at it, we're like, this is amazing.
It is amazing. So I will say, if you're not following her, follow her on Twitter or on her Instagram. And then I really would encourage all of you, if you're not following already, I am very proud of what my team has done. Follow the school district. We are changing how our social media is and the interaction. And so we are now on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook. So if you want to keep up with what the district's doing besides hearing what you do here, definitely follow us, because there are lovely opportunities that we don't always get to highlight just in our traditional ways.
Can you, just for everyone's sake, give us the handle, the Twitter handle, because it used to be WCSD tweet, and that's no longer there.
Thank you. We actually had updated to where it's Washoe Schools, so that you could find us. Obviously, if you were already following, you would be able to find it, but if you look up Washoe Schools, you will be able to find us. And then Instagram, I am not remembering it off the top of my head, so I'm looking. Yes, it is Washoe Schools also. So make it easier for everybody, because I don't know how I'm talking however many years ago we had Washoe tweets. So, yeah.
And then just for the board, the superintendents, it's soup and it's Sept Enfield, something like that, right?
Yes, I'm looking at it as we
Yes.
speak. Hold on.
'Cause it's
look at
pretty
you.
great.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
SUPTENFIELD.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Thank you very much for those updates. And now, Brittany, update on our student representative. I can't talk today.
Yes, so there is a new person overseeing student voice. I had met with Michelle Hammond back in June about having a student representative visit us. She got moved back into the classroom, but there is a new gentleman, I believe his name is Brad Rose, and he has already reached out about keeping that agreement going. And I believe it's going to be, help me with how you say her name, Ivy Batmail?
I do not know how to pronounce her last name, but I do know it is Ivy. I actually just saw her today, and she is fantastic.
Awesome. So she is the student representative for the WCSD trustees, and she's happy to come and give us updates.
Wonderful. All right. Do we have any public comments at this time? No? Okay. Well, our next meeting is October 10th. There's going to be an invite that's going to go out prior to actually tour Hug High School, which if you haven't seen it, oh my gosh, it's incredible. I think we're looking at 3 p.m. for that. I wouldn't have a set date or set time yet. But
No, we don't, because I'm grappling in the assistant principals, because school ends at like 2:30, and that means parents and everyone's there, so there's a lot of traffic happening right around the time that we might want to do a tour. So I'll let you know. I don't know how it's going to be. It's a tough one.
Yes. That's the next board of directors meeting. But what I was thinking was sending out a separate calendar invite for that tour
Right on.
prior to our board meeting. That way there will be on your calendars and you'll have the time. And if you want to join us before a board of directors meeting, you absolutely should, because it is a wonderful campus. And I don't know, I checked my mind off. And with that, if there's no other questions, discussions, we can adjourn at 5:59. I should have talked one more minute. I like whole numbers. All right, well, 5:59. And this is for Mr. Bianchi.
Yes. Nice job, Lauren.